let's get a little bit more on this and cross to Beirut. We're going to speak to Michel Helou. He is the Secretary General of the Lebanese National Bloc. That's a secular political party in the country. Michel, the bombing and fighting in Lebanon that, as we've heard, is carrying on even right now as we speak, has cost the country an estimated $5 billion already. Do you and your political party support a ceasefire? And if so, at what cost?
Hello. Sure, we do. We need a ceasefire, and I think that the majority of the Lebanese political parties in the country do support a ceasefire. And more than that, we support a ceasefire with very clear conditions. And we need the ceasefire, obviously, because the situation is catastrophic. As you said, according to the last World Bank report, we're talking about $5 billion of losses, 100,000 residential units destroyed. We're talking about more than 1.2 million internally displaced people. So the situation is absolutely disastrous. And Israel is increasing the rhythm, the intensity of strikes this morning. And as we can see on the images right now, this morning, the southern suburb of Beirut was bombarded in a very, very intense and destructive manner.
So, Michel, you said conditions there. Let's talk first then. Sure. What conditions would you like to see met by Israel? And then we'll talk about other conditions. So what conditions would you like to see met by Israel as part of the ceasefire?
The conditions are extremely clear, and they have to be the absolute and total respect of Lebanon's sovereignty. It's been since 1969 that Lebanon's sovereignty has been violated by many parties, Israel, but also the militias that have been operating in southern Lebanon. We cannot continue paying the price of other people's wars, and we cannot accept Israeli violations to our sovereignty. So both Israel and Iran have to respect Lebanon's sovereignty. That means stopping any sort of Israeli violations to our sovereignty through air or land or sea. That means respecting our borders. But also it means that Iran should stop interfering in our affairs. And when we listen to Ali Larijani, the Supreme Guide's counselor, he says that Iran will continue standing next to the Lebanese people, but he also says we will continue supporting the Lebanese resistance. While what is required is not that Iran supports the Lebanese resistance, what is required is that Iran only limits its relations to Lebanon through official channels. That means supporting the Lebanese state, yes, if they want, and we need everyone's support, but not going through unofficial informal ways and funding militias outside of the state like they've been doing since 1982. This is unacceptable.
Okay,
so,
and just to be super crystal clear here, what you mean that effectively is funding Hezbollah, which is amongst militias extant in... Okay. So just wanted to be super clear on that. In that case, one of the things that Israel says, or is likely to say that it wants is a full disarmament of Hezbollah. Is that something that you would support then as part of a ceasefire agreement?
Definitely. The only way for us to not only make sure that this war stops, but also make sure that this war is the last war, is to make sure that we enshrine the state's sovereignty on our lands, to make sure that for the first time in half a century, the Lebanese army is the only army in this country, the only armed force in this country. And that means that we cannot continue having militias like Hezbollah depending on foreign countries taking their orders and their funding and their ideology from foreign countries, and then opening wars on our soil and basically turning Lebanon into a battleground for foreign forces. So this is why we clearly need to make sure that Hezbollah becomes a normal Lebanese party and not a foreign funded and guided militia. But on the other hand, it is also fundamental to underline how much we need international pressure to stop Israel's aggression on our country. I mean, the level of destruction is unseen before. We've never gone through such a disaster. So here we will need extremely strong pressure on the Israeli government. And I hope that the new American administration will strengthen a bit the pressure, although a lot of us are a bit extremely cautious and a bit scared of what's coming up on that front.
Well, I think that's understandable. Michel Helou from the Lebanese National Bloc. Fascinating to speak to you on the News Hour on TRT World. Thanks for joining us.